great debate. We're here to answer the question that's been burning on everyone's mind forever. Are pancakes natural? In the for camp, or I don't know, the person who thinks pancakes are unnatural, rather, is Corey. The person who thinks that they seem totally natural to me is me. So Corey, what is your argument? Where do you begin? With maybe how you
I
describe,
think let's start with
or how it came up in the first place, maybe. Like, yeah.
Sure. So obviously, this is very important. Obviously, pancakes being unnatural, it's on everybody's minds. Every time somebody eats a pancake, that's the first thing they think of. No, I'm just kidding. But let's be honest. It might be more important than people realize, and I think I might be able to prove that here. But even more so, just the point in contention, which is, are they unnatural to begin with? So we're going to have to look at the difference between like human judgment on a particular subject versus like the actual effects of said object on that human. And we're going to have to make some differentiation. So I think the first differentiation to make would be to define our terms, right? So what is a pancake? And what are we doing with it, right? So I have some notes that I did write down. I did do a little preparation for this because, of course, it's a very important topic and I have to be prepared, right? So there's two natures at play here. There's pancakes and then there's humankind. Now, I think if I talk to anybody out here and I would ask you this question, Mike, do humans make pancakes?
Yes. And humans make babies too, which is also natural.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, but we do recognize there's different types of humans and there's also different types of pancakes. But we do recognize them as pancakes despite being different. So, like, we'll look at trees and we'll say there's different types of trees, but they're all trees.
Okay, I think I follow. I don't see any
Yeah,
contradictions so
I know.
far.
We're building up, right? We're
Okay.
trying to lay a foundation. So, what is pancakes then if we break it down, right? And I say that humans make pancakes and we consume pancakes. I don't see anything else really making pancakes except humans. We make this as a title, as a concept. So already by just the nature of looking at it, I can say it's pretty man-made, but we have to break it down more. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Are you saying that there's no possible way that nature could make a pancake?
It could be possible, but you'd have to show
some
me.
boulders run through some wheat fields, and then they happen to get hit with the right amount of rain. Maybe like an egg falls in it, and it like finds its way. It happens to be in Death Valley, and all of a sudden you got natural pancakes.
Okay, sure. And that, so then that would make it so where pancakes are natural to exist or occur. But I think it's because there's a combination of different things, but we'd have to be calling it a pancake. And so we're the ones titling it. So then maybe you would recognize that then the title of pancake is man-made.
Uh, Maybe I don't
Because
think
there's a
I don't
bunch of
think I don't think just
combinations.
labeling something like by like giving a word would take something away from something.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think that's how it works. That's like
Well,
you
in nature,
can call like a flat wall a round wall. It doesn't make it a round wall. You know what I mean?
yeah, it doesn't change the nature of that thing. Well,
Right.
what I'm saying too is like in nature, all these things are happening all the time. There's tons of different things. We can try to label and identify those things, but we'll be doing that all day, wouldn't we? I mean, we can try to differentiate. That's what science
Don't
tries to do.
isn't that literally what language is for, to make
Yeah,
distinctions and to separate things?
sure. I do think it does come at a cost though. Because when we do put a label on it, what if it's something else? Like, let's say, you see it, it's round and I see it's square. Is it actually which one? We have to be able to come to some sense of agreement, right? So it's a lot of human bias getting in the way of like, what do we see this thing? What should we title this thing? And what language should we title that thing? I mean, there's a reason why there's also like scientific names for different things, right? So there's probably a scientific name for pancake, not in English.
Yeah, but again, okay, I feel like the language part really kind of goes into the weeds because it doesn't has anything to
Yeah,
do with
we're not
pancakes
going to
being
talk
unnatural.
mostly about
Yeah.
the
Okay.
language.
Okay.
We're going to talk more about the nature of that thing to begin with. But I do want to lay the foundation to say there is a title that we're giving this thing we call pancakes, and that nature that of pancake is very broad and generalized, considering the fact there might be different types of pancakes. So there's
Well, it's
different
like a little
ingredients.
cake you make in a pan.
Yeah, but there might be different types of flour, right? There might be different types
Sure.
of eggs. There might be different
Right.
types of sugar.
You can do vegan pancakes. You could do pancakes out of scallions.
Right.
You could do pancakes
paleo
out of
pancakes.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of other options for all of those things.
Sure.
In fact, there are all natural pancake recipes. There are hundreds if you look them up. So
yeah, when they use the word natural, it may not be through the way I'm looking at it here. So I'm going to get really specific on what does that mean? What does it mean for something to be natural, and what is a pancake? So I use a method called the nature dynamic within my works in Naturosophy for understanding the nature of any one thing. So let's look at a pancake, right? What do we use a pancake for? Why do we consume pancakes?
because we have to eat.
To eat, right? To eat, to consume, to enjoy it, whatever.
They're relatively cheap. You can make a bunch. Yeah. They're like made right. with ready to build, very common ingredients found in nature.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, eggs we see have been around for a long time, right? Flour too.
Flour's just wheat.
For many. Yeah, sure.
You know, you get unbleached regular, just mortar and pestle. You can do that from wheat. You can do the same, and you need, and like eating pancakes, you wouldn't use eggs, so like you don't need that either. But again,
sure.
And I wouldn't say chickens are unnatural.
And people might have been making pancakes before they used the word pancakes. Would you acknowledge that?
Yeah, probably, because the English probably wasn't a language then.
Okay. All right. And so then if we look at like sort of the base nature, so I call that the simple nature, which is its intended purpose or use. The base nature would be, what are the requirements? Well, a pancake we usually shape in a form of a flat circle, right? So like on a pan, usually we have to use it with pans. We need to know how to cook. These are all requirements involved for the pancake. So I would call that the base nature. Now, the core nature would be what it's made out of. So you mentioned the flour, it could be butter, it could be oil, it could be eggs, it could be baking soda, powder, but the ingredients are going to vary slightly and in different ways. And I think the ingredients are pretty particular and very important for this conversation because it determines the nature of the pancake. Obviously, we recognize each pancake is different, and we also recognize each person is different. So this might give us a little bit more judgment as to what works well for the body. In other words, what is natural. And I'm going to get to that definition as well. The second nature to a pancake. So a second nature would be other simple natures. So other intended purposes or uses. So if it's not for eating, it's for enjoying. If it's not for just eating, it's maybe for nutrition. Like we eat for nutrition or whatever your purpose is of using the pancake. It could also cause other things like insulin reactiveness, like maybe insulin resistance in the case of it's a really high glycemic grain or wheat product. It's a form of carbohydrate we recognize. We also recognize there's some fats within it. There might be some proteins from the eggs. But we also recognize it's used for breakfast. So these are all second natures, meaning that you can look at a pancake and usually associate it with these things. Now, there's many other second natures you can associate it with, but those are just some that I wrote down. And the general nature would be, what is it? What is a type? So the type of a pancake, it's a food. So we recognize it as a food. Do you recognize it as a food, or do you recognize it as anything else, like a design?
I mean, I feel like probably when I was a kid, I might have worn it as a mask once, like a bite out the holes for the eyes or something. Okay. I don't know. But otherwise, yeah, generally, of course, it's a food. Yeah. And again, it's like, I like, yeah. Okay. I mean, it's, I guess, how we eat it. Again, I feel like that's all after the fact of it is a pancake.
Sure. But then the higher nature would be for a greater purpose or greater use. So if we're eating something and we're eating anything, what is our goal for eating? What is our goal for enjoyment? Well, we want to enjoy the most possible. So that might mean, in the case of pancakes, us adding more sugar, us adding more maple syrup or whatever it is to make it better. So our goal might be for a better meal or for a better enjoyment. And we eat the pancake to enjoy. But we might want to make a better pancake. And that aspect of better makes a big difference for this conversation because we're asking, are pancakes natural? And natural is usually a term associated by many people as better. Now, it doesn't mean it's better just because it's natural. Again, we recognize labels as can be misconceiving, or some people can perceive labels differently. So let's get specific then on nature and what is natural. I define nature as what has always existed. You look at any dictionary, nature is basically the constitution, birth, innate character. Okay. And then natural, if you just break it down, of nature. So it supports what has always existed. So, for instance, I have a body, which is given to me by nature. I've always had this body. Okay. And
but you haven't always existed.
No.
Okay.
But
In
my
fact,
soul
nothing has
has.
always existed.
But my soul or my spirit
Possibly.
has, which has gone past many generations in order to bring me to where I am now. Humans have always existed in the sense of our understanding.
Well, it depends. Yeah. I mean, if you go with a Big Bang, that's like nothing existed until something
Sure.
existed.
Right.
I mean,
And
and to be
getting
fair, it's like, just give
closer
us one miracle.
and getting farther, getting closer and closer to origin is nature. Because again, it's birth, it's source. So when you
Right.
want to support your own nature, support something that is natural, support nature in a sense, then you want to support what has always been there. So if your body is designed and meant to have certain organs in certain places or designed to be healthy, how are you going to support your health? Right. So the word healthy and health go hand in hand because you want to consume healthy foods for your health. The same way you might look at the word natural and nature or real and reality or honesty and honest. Okay, these all or correct and right.
Again, these are all just
correlate.
okay. Forgive me, because that's a sorry for talking over you.
Sure.
But I feel like it's like this is all descriptions of a pancake, and they are around a pancake. They are not in the pancake. They are not the pancake.
Okay.
So like it's like yeah, all of this derivative info. I feel like it's like ways to describe things around the pancake, but they are not the pancake.
Well, it helps us
what is
understand.
in the pancake?
Well, we're eating the pancake for enjoyment, right? And for
no, again, no,
nutrition.
but again, eating no, you don't have to. You can just make it and throw it on the ground. That's fine. That's doesn't. But if that's made out of nature,
so you want us to take human bias out of it?
I'm saying all the parts are natural.
The parts are natural,
right?
Like the eggs, the flour. Okay, yeah. I don't know about flour.
Yeah, isn't it just wheat when you grind it up?
So here's what we need to distinguish, because again, we're looking at humans and pancakes. So if we're looking at eggs, for instance, right, they might be natural to exist. Are they natural to use? So in the sense of, are eggs beneficial for human consumption?
Clearly, yeah, they're great. They're like,
now, how about flour?
It's cheap. Depends who you ask. There's a lot of competing thoughts on that, but at the same time, it's like it only sustained like large swaths of the population for many generations to make you exist in the first place. So
right,
well, probably beneficial.
It can be used. Does it mean it's supposed to be used?
According to who?
Well, wouldn't time tell us all truth? Is anything
supposed to do anything?
Well, do we not see the reason why we ended chattel slavery in 1800s?
Ended chattel slavery in 1800s.
Did we just do it because it's more productive? Did we just do it because we felt like it? Or did we do it because there's a purpose?
No, the North didn't like that they couldn't beat the profit margins of the South. I'm not even joking. That's actually why they did it.
You don't think anybody in their hearts or any of the abolitionists who originally stood for the cause?
They were never not the people with the money that actually could end it.
You think money is what ended slavery, and 100%, everybody 100%. Nowadays won't try it just because of money?
No, they still do it. I mean, because of our presidents in the last couple of decades do it. Because I don't know if I could pay for someone to like do that the whole time and house someone or whatever. I probably would if they wanted to. I don't care.
Well, you're paying them. That's not slavery.
Anyway, so Libya currently has open air slave markets straight up. Like right now, today.
Right.
Like,
but I'm talking about like
happens, and that's actually due to American intervention in Libya, actually, but that's a whole separate conversation.
No, there definitely still is. But the point of understanding this is the reason of understanding like there's a purpose in humankind, or people see that things work better when they're aligned to nature. So in a sense of humans are not meant to be slaves. Would you agree?
I mean, obviously, I don't think there should be slaves, but at the same time, I don't know what meant to be is supposed to be. I feel like what happens is what is supposed to be. Generally speaking.
So if what happens is people have it, you're just going to go along with it?
No, I wouldn't endorse. I wouldn't want to hang out with those people. But like, why? There are hateful people, and I don't want to hang out with them either.
So you're recognizing,
really nice, but I also think they suck too.
so you're recognizing, you're making a bunch of lines in the sand, though, of what is right, what is wrong.
No, for me, that's different. I'm not. I would never say objectively. Like, I mean, it's like obviously.
And how do you make that judgment?
Based on everybody else, what shit you've learned and seen and heard and read.
So when I consume a pancake, Do I listen to my body when I react to that food to see if it's compatible with myself?
Maybe you do. I don't know. I don't have your body. Some people really
Right.
don't.
But wouldn't this help us in this discussion for understanding what is natural and unnatural if I'm given the nature of my body and given the nature of that food to understand how that food reacts to my body, the two natures in conflict with one another, to see if they're compatible, to see if it actually promotes health, to see if it actually supports my nature?
Um, I guess, but yeah, generally speaking, I would say that like there's okay. So you're just saying your body might not like pancakes. That makes them unnatural. That's basically what you're getting at.
It gives you a sign, does it not?
For one person, potentially, they might have like a gluten allergy or whatever.
Okay.
That's fine. You could also do it without wheat. I'm
But
pretty
you're
sure.
saying that doesn't make it unnatural just because one person might have an unnatural.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
But you don't think that gives us a sign at all into the nature of the food?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's stuff that diabetics shouldn't eat, right? Like because they're diabetic.
Okay.
There's
And
stuff
aren't there
that people
certain
with
things that humans shouldn't eat?
If it sustains their life and it's all they got, they should eat it. Yes.
So if it's a poisonous plant, we recognize it as poisonous.
I didn't say that. Doesn't sound like it sustains their life. So no, they should not eat
Right.
it.
Okay. So now you're basically admitting to the fact there's certain things that are natural that support an individual's nature, and
Well, it
there's
would be
certain things
very
that don't.
natural if all you had to eat was a pancake to eat that pancake
Why is it very natural?
because it
It's the
sustains
only
your
thing.
nature.
Sorry, because you said it's the only thing that you have to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would
Well,
be
if you put it in
of
that
course.
context.
Okay, then it's very natural to eat a pancake. All
Okay,
right,
but that doesn't
closed.
make the
We
pancake
can
natural.
call it.
Just because you're given an option that is
Okay, back to that
not
initial case then. Nature made the pancake. It did whatever things happened and it cooked itself on a rock somewhere in the
does
sun.
that mean it's best fit for human consumption? Nature makes poisonous plants.
Like I said, if it's literally the only thing, then it would have to be best fit, right?
If you see
In
it's
that context,
compatible with
would
your
it,
nature.
it's the only thing that you could eat, other than the rock that it's just cooked on, maybe.
Yeah, but just because it's the only thing does not mean it's the best thing.
Right. But okay, are you saying there's literally zero scenario ever where it would be perfectly natural for the pancake to exist, which I think we already kind of agreed could happen, even though as unlikely as it is. I mean,
It can happen. I'm not going to deny the possibility.
It's unlikely that like the Earth exists. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, sure. Like stranger things have happened than a pancake forming somewhere. And you know what I mean? Or if it's just a mushroom, it's just squished. You call it a mushroom pancake. What's the difference? Like it's so. So are you suggesting there's zero? So let's say the pancake was formed naturally somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And like, are you saying there's zero scenario where someone eating it, like you're saying the act of eating it makes it unnatural? I don't understand that. It's because that has nothing to do. Remove people, just the pancake exists. That's natural, right?
You can't remove us because
Yes, you can.
by our
You have
nature
to.
of this conversation, we're here.
But well, okay, but so
And also,
but
we are the ones who are consuming the pancakes. So you can't take
like,
our nature out of the equation.
Is that not? How is that not just like guilt by association?
Huh?
How is that not just like guilt? Like the pancake is guilty of being unnatural by association. I just realized my mic is really hot. Sorry.
Because we're the ones identifying pancakes and we're the ones consuming the pancakes. And so we're the ones saying if something should be natural. Now, nature is just nature, it's just what is, right? It's just exists. We're the ones who come up with the word natural.
But the world makes it and nobody eats it. That's perfectly natural.
If the world makes it and nobody eats it.
Yes.
Okay. Trying to think of what you're saying. What do you mean? Like if the world makes it, nobody eats it. What we're talking about is human beings. In order for something to be natural, we have to have some sort of human bias.
But we talked about the scenario where a pancake could just exist.
You can't take humans out of the equation.
But we did earlier, though, right?
Well, I said it's possible that nature can make pancakes, but that's irrelevant of understanding what's natural.
So are you natural?
My existence as a human being is natural.
Okay, if I take a bite out of your arm, does that make you not natural all of a sudden? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's not natural for you to do that to me because it violates
me unnatural, but it doesn't make you not natural. It wouldn't change you at all.
It changes my nature. It changes my nature away from
arm, but you're not unnatural. any more than
Well,
like
it's
falling and cutting
unnatural
your
to
arm
my
is.
health condition. It's going to cause some problems, whether it's going to cause problems in you psychologically or me physically.
I don't see how external factors change the nature of it. Like I don't think that makes sense to me.
Well, if internal did, I mean, is internal, external not related and connected? So I don't, here's the thing, right? You have a pancake, right? For us to use the word natural, again, we have to add in humanity because we're the ones making judgments on nature that exist. So let's say a
Right.
pancake exists in nature, it just exists. All right, whatever. There's no natural, there's no unnatural, it just is. But when humans come into the equation, we have to make judgments for ourselves as to what should we do and what should we not do? What should we eat? What should we not eat? And so that's how we understand what should we
Okay.
eat that's better for us than what should we eat that's worse for us. So what is it that we should eat that's more natural for us versus something that is less natural? So a pancake, most people would recognize as processed. What is the definition of process? Something that man takes, put in a lab or cooks up to try to make something new.
But okay, like people cut down trees, but it doesn't make trees unnatural. So I guess
It
I'm
does
missing something
change the
here.
nature of the tree. The tree was there before.
No, but you're saying all trees then are unnatural based on what we're talking about here.
No, the trees
that's what it
just
sounds like.
exist. Humans then mess with the trees. That changes their natural condition.
So you're saying a tree can go from natural to, so one person chops down one tree and now all trees are not natural.
No, I'm saying that one tree now is in its unnatural condition. So a paper would be an unnatural form of a tree. A tree is a more natural form of a paper. Because we recognize
Okay,
the root cause.
it's an old dead tree and it gets pushed over versus wind just knocks it over. It's the exact same result. Exact same splitters,
Okay,
exact
but
same
nature
breakpoints,
caused
exact
it,
same
so
everything.
there's no humans.
But if you were to push it over, it's the exact same result. The tree is just as natural as it was.
Yes, but that happens all the time. That has always existed. People turning it into paper has not always existed. People using the tree and using it for all sorts of nefarious purposes.
But just like I'm saying, just tree falls over by itself versus tree gets pushed over. Breaks the exact same way.
Yeah,
they're just equally as natural.
Sure. But when we
Okay.
start messing with nature and the extent of now renaming things and making new forms, now we're messing with, what is there and intended. Now we have the ability to do so. It doesn't mean we should.
You build a lightning gun and you shoot it at a tree and it blows a branch off and it collapses exact same way as lightning would from the sky. Just as natural, right? The tree, it doesn't change the nature of the tree at all.
It changes the nature of the tree.
No differently.
Yeah,
right?
But that effect is natural to occur because that effect has always happened. As long as the existence of lightning, as far as our understanding. But again, turning trees into paper is not something that has ever existed unless humans come into the picture. Unless you can say,
if humans come and scratch at a tree, just like any animal would, same thing. Doesn't change the nature of the tree.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it
so
does
I'm saying humans are involved.
You can't say nature is always changing. Change is law. Okay, so I don't want to say nothing changes, but I do want to say that there are
about the naturalness of that tree.
The naturalness of the tree exists. It's a tree. But when you call it something else, because now it's in a different form, we recognize it has a different nature, do we not? So now the piece of paper we can write on, a tree we can't write on the same way as a paper because we did something to the tree to turn it into a paper so we can write on it. The same way we took a bunch of ingredients from nature and we said, okay, we can turn this into a pancake. Now we have a pancake. And we recognize this as food, but is it as natural as just eating the eggs or the flour as they are?
So you have some arbitrary number of steps that all of a sudden turns things unnatural in your definition?
The path of least resistance.
But don't chew too much. Is that more natural?
Well, take it from the Taoist point of view, right? The path of least resistance, or the wu-wei, non-action. You're still taking action, but it's action that causes the least amount of resistance. In another sense, it's understanding what is effortless. So you want to produce natural results, and in order to do so, that means not messing or crossing the line, not messing too much with nature. So you have a human body that you're given with, and you don't want to cross its boundaries or its given nature. So it's the same concept in Taoism, which has been taught for thousands of years, which is try to leave nature alone as much as possible. For what you do use, respect it and understand what you're using it for, why you're using it. Does it support who you are? So if you are making a pancake, is it a pancake that's healthy, that's going to support your nature? Or is it a pancake that isn't so healthy? Why do you use a pancake? Are you dependent on it? Because if you think that is your only food, a pancake, you might forget about the eggs, you might forget about the flour and that which made the pancake, but you need that in order to make the pancake. So the same way in like artificial intelligence,
So
we need natural intelligence to make.
Stone Age grug. Okay, so you're
Well, we
Stone Age
need
grug now,
we
and
need
nature
natural
made one of these
intelligence.
pancakes that we were talking about,
Sure.
and you see this pancake. The path of least resistance is obviously to eat the pancake.
If you're given the pancake, yeah, it's by
Yes,
nature.
God gave it to you. Yeah, there you go. Okay,
But
all
it
right, so
doesn't
that's
mean it's right
100%
for your
natural then.
body. That requires knowledge.
You're grug. You don't know, and lacking knowledge doesn't make you unnatural either.
Well, we have minds for a reason by nature, do we not? To learn from our behavior, to learn from our effects. What's the point of
Okay,
that
but
if we're just going to do
what if
everything
grug
that's
thinks
given
it's
to us?
delicious, and he's got a field of nature's
Okay, that's
pancakes?
that's one point of contention that comes with our body is the idea of enjoyment, but we also have intellect. So just because we enjoy hurting someone does not mean we should hurt someone because we know we should not. That's another thing, right? Just because we feel like we have instincts that tell us we got to go kill someone does not mean we do it because we know better. And unless we know better, then we don't
Well,
know a better nature to partake in.
still feel like this is getting too focused on the human part. I guess I still don't see how any of this changes the nature of pancake. I mean, it's like if you take a bite out of a chicken,
Okay.
it doesn't change the nature of the chicken. The chicken is just as natural as it was. A coyote could have
Well,
taken the
there's
same bite.
saliva on it. The form
Okay,
that it was
but
whole is
a
now
fox bites the
changed.
chicken.
I'm saying
That's not
there's always
natural.
change. I'm not saying that just because someone bites it or just because something happens to it makes it unnatural. I'm saying it changes. Change is just nature. It's just law. Things are always changing. What makes us make the distinction between natural and unnatural is what was there before. So, yes, if we start messing with trees, we start messing with other human beings, yes, we're going to create an unintended result if we don't understand the nature of growth, the nature of a human body and what it's supposed to be, the holistic blueprint of certain organs in certain places. A doctor might say, well, let's just take this organ out because it's going to cause a problem. They aren't looking at the bigger picture, is recognizing that organ is meant to be in the human body. They're like,
Well,
oh, well, it's not going
we
to
don't
cause
really
any
need
problems.
anymore.
They're going
Like
to claim that they don't need
appendixes and
anything.
stuff like that. Yeah, it's for processing like horse hooves and stuff like that, which we just don't eat, or like mole or wisdom teeth, or
Humans
like a
think
handful of
that they
different parts.
can mess with nature, but then nature always kicks them in the butt later on because they don't have enough knowledge to understand, oh, wait, I shouldn't have done that. And this happens time and time again throughout history. Again, slavery being another example of humans thinking they could do something for thousands of years until a bunch of people come along and say, this is not something we need at all. In fact, society can be way better without it, which means it's more natural for our condition. And being that you and I can live without that with no problem seems quite natural to us. Doesn't seem like we are obliged to have to go out of our way to do something to other people who we recognize we don't own.
Okay,
And
potato
ownership stems from
pancakes.
what? Our nature. So back to pancakes, it's the same thing.
What about potato pancakes? Clearly natural. Like literally generations of Irish people survived on them. They died when they didn't have them. They only ate potatoes, basically.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so they recognize,
together.
look, they're
And
choosing what to do with their own
basically
life.
minimal processing. There's almost no other ingredients other than potato and a potato pancake and frying it.
All right, well, frying, cooking, that's one nature of its own. The potato, one nature of its own. What other ingredients are part of it?
You can cook an egg on the bottom of most MacBooks. It doesn't like it's like the sun will do it like on the street in Texas most days. So like that can just happen. Eggs fall out of a truck and potatoes fall out of a truck, gets run over, bam, it sits and simmers. Totally natural. I mean, the potato being there on the truck, I guess not natural, but I'll give you that. But fair enough. In either case,
Yes.
a potato could roll into a spot on a rock. You know what I mean? There's no reason. Like that's actually much easier to imagine God making potato pancakes, oddly enough. So, and that's ancient shit. So, so I guess, and again, we talked about earlier, there's a million different ways that you can describe pancakes. It's just a flat thing, generally bready. Carbs are actually pretty good for you in a lot of cases. Very ready to use energy.
But why generalize when we can get specific and understand how it exactly affects humankind? So like the insulin idea is very problematic. You recognize there's people promoting like paleo or different types of pancakes. Why are they doing that? It's because now they're recognizing the nature of something is no longer supporting the natural human body as well as it should.
I think you're partially also biased by thinking of it as an American pancake. Most other countries will not do it like the level of sugar
I
and crap that we
understand.
do.
I said
Okay,
there's different
fine.
ways to make pancakes. What I'm
Right.
saying is there's a reason why somebody would replace like flour, which is many people would consider a huge component of pancakes or like cakes in
And
general.
whole wheat flour would obviously be totally natural.
Yeah, but like there's people who are like don't do any flour, and I think that is telling us like, wait, why are we doing that? Unless we recognize there might be something incredibly wrong with that way of thinking, or maybe it doesn't work for everybody because there's a conflict of natures going on between the individual and
Well,
the food
yeah,
that they're consuming.
like the Atkins guy, he thought that like carbs were basically the devil. And then he died of heart disease. Lol. Whatever.
Yeah. So in again, there's so many different natures to look at. People would love to generalize and be like, oh, well, that's evidence that the Atkins diet doesn't work. See,
I think
people
realistically, people are different. Actually, there's actually a great variety of difference between people. I think it's like silly to say that we're all the same because we're just not. Simply put.
Right. So that
And
would shut off every assumption, would it not? But then it would help us inquire more into the nature of who we are as human beings. See, the word natural might sound like a generalization as to what is natural and what is not. But if I'm saying on an individual level, each human is different and each pancake is different, now what I'm looking at is super individualized understanding. I'm not looking at a collective understanding, right? But the only collective understanding is we're all part of nature and nature was here before us. So we just have to figure out our way.
No, well, nature made us, thus we are also natural, and everything we do is also natural. There's not a single pharmaceutical
everything we
product.
do is natural.
Absolutely,
Just because we were made by nature,
and because we did it right. Like there's no pharmaceutical product you can find that I would argue is unnatural, actually, because every single thing in those pills came from something on Earth that was here naturally.
And I agree, but do you not think that we can turn it into different forms away from its intended form or its original form?
I don't think there's any. I don't think intended really means anything. I don't think that
then
actually exists. Nature doesn't intend; it just does.
Then what's the point of morality and understanding there's a natural or moral law that lives within the universe that humans must live under certain circumstances in order to create social unity or harmony?
I mean, you could argue that it's unnatural to like for monkeys to lose their hair and start speaking in languages, right? Like in the same sense, in that sense, it's just evolution, which obviously is natural.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you're saying it through this lens of it's natural to grow and to evolve and to learn from our actions over time, we're still making decisions, however, for ourselves as to what to do and what not to do. You can't avoid that.
Right. Right. And so everything had to come from the universe.
So then to say that, like, I'm just going to do whatever because everything is just nature, then it's like, no, you're still going to make decisions within your life of what to do, what not to do, and therefore what is natural and what is unnatural. You're purposely not going to walk off a cliff. Oh, just because the cliff was here does not make it right for you to walk off a cliff.
Right. But I also wouldn't necessarily, I think being individualistic just kind of makes the whole discussion moot when you're talking about specific pancakes or specific people.
Well, why would it not help us inquire more knowledge into?
Because you have to do it 8 billion times. You have to do it 8 billion times for every different person on the planet then to have any kind of like real idea.
Exactly. And it teaches you not to make a general statement, but to look inside yourself, which is, do you not know yourself the most?
But this whole conversation started because you said pancakes are unnatural.
Yes. Because
that is a pretty general statement.
It is a general statement.
Discovered.
It is a general statement, but look, as we broke it down, because I had to, because it's a general title. I had to recognize, wait, there's human beings, there's different types of pancakes. I had to. So like any statement I make, you can break it down, can you not? I can say,
of course.
Yeah, of course. Is there not an other side to every argument as well?
Well, yeah, you could break down every word in every statement into the etymology and find 50 other words. Then you break down all the words used in those definitions, and now it fans out into like, I mean, you probably learn a bunch of stuff. But okay, right. What is the etymology of pancake? Let's go.
Go ahead, you can look it up. But I don't know how much that will help us with man-made words, but
it might. Well, again, words are just a way to help convey. Sure. Flapjack, griddle cake, thin cake of batter fried or baked in a pan from the 14th, late 13th century.
As long as we recognize words are symbols that have been taken out of their original nature as well. Same thing like pancakes are
hold on. Of a recipe. This is perfect. This is perfect. Let me share this window if it works. Share. Okay. All right. Can you see my window here? All right. So yes. You didn't let me finish. Using 1400 pancake. as a surname, as a symbol of flatness. Speaking of words being symbols, very funny.
Okay.
Yeah. In language said plat a cake. It's like a plate. It's like a plate cake. Colloquial pancake. For Shrove Tuesday from 1777 is the old custom. Okay. Oh, pancake
So
is
that's
a verb
very, very
to
late in
squeeze flat.
time. Like talk
Okay,
about
I mean, well,
1700s, 13th century. Gosh,
I mean, yeah,
the Earth has been
that
around for
existed.
billions.
Well, yeah, and we've existed with our like prefrontal cortex basically in the same form for about 700,000 years. So, yeah, at least 300,000.
So this is quite new.
Well, fair. That doesn't mean that we didn't have people making them or eating them before then. Crepe.
It doesn't make them natural just because people can.
But it doesn't know. But also, being new doesn't make things unnatural either. You know what I mean?
It does make them unnatural in the title that we give them because it's new as a word, but also because they're taken out of their original form. The flour and the eggs and
okay, I guess I see at that point we're talking about like there's just kind of general arbitrary number of steps that change it.
What makes it arbitrary to understand that a tree turns into a paper objectively due to effects?
If you could do it in one clean slice from a knife.
Okay, just because, but that doesn't. It's still changing a tree to a paper.
Okay, a very sharp rock did the exact same thing.
Okay, but you're using it, or is the rock doing it?
No, the rock just like fell and just sliced.
Okay, so then humans are out of the picture. And
Yeah.
if humans are out of the picture, then there's no natural or unnatural distinction unless we recognize something in nature is happening that that shouldn't be happening, and therefore the default is on humans again.
But that happens the vast majority of the time.
To figure out, as humans,
I think that actually happens the most. Like, I think that actually happens way more than you're giving it credit for. Is like a lot of times people don't even realize things do things until they see nature just do it. And they're like, oh, I can replicate that.
Sure, but it doesn't mean just because nature does it does not mean that they should do it, because there's effects that nature happens as the result of humans.
Right. Like, for example, if you increase carbon in the atmosphere by 40%, trees grow 2x speed, at 200%. So trees will grow way faster when you slightly increase carbon. So it's actually very good for trees to have more carbon in the air.
And that's where we learn
which
from our behavior.
Then pulls more carbon out of the environment and blah, blah, blah. And like, that's why we see the amount of forest in Brazil growing massively over the last couple of years.
Well, isn't that, again, the point of evolution is to learn from our behavior to know what is right to do. So in understanding like natural health, for example, it's about supporting the individual's natural being, which means understanding how the body works, doing so in the least invasive way, and for ultimately two things, safety and effectiveness. Without either one, it's sort of like you're missing half the picture. Okay. Because let's say I were to compare two different types of pancakes. Let's say one of them is really like good at making me happy or providing nutrition, but it's also not that safe for me. And it's also like causing a bunch of other issues. So then it's not really that natural, is it?
I don't see why. But so its effect on you doesn't change whether or not it's a pancake.
Well, it affects if it's natural, which is what we're trying to figure out.
But again, take you out of the picture, which I'm trying to do here.
Which you can't do because a natural is a human-made distinction.
We've already discussed a bunch of places.
Do you think nature comes to us and says, this is what's natural? No, humans are making that judgment for themselves, are they not?
Okay, so you're just saying you can call whatever you want natural or not natural. I get it now. Okay.
Well, I'm saying that's the human job of all humans in society, ultimately, through all classification systems whatsoever, entirely on this earth, whether it's honest, real, reality, illusion, adulteration, any form, aberrational, they're all forms of classification to understand that basic distinction between the natural and unnatural.
Everything I think putting a word on a thing doesn't change the thing.
No, absolutely. That's why I'm saying titles.
So making the distinction by giving it a word. That goes
back to what we talked about with titles in the beginning, how titles don't change the nature of something, and we can come up with a bunch of different titles for the same thing. It doesn't change the nature of the thing.
Right. Okay.
But the word natural we use as a distinction to know what to do and what not to do because it's of nature.
But if you're going to label it natural or unnatural, that doesn't change the fact that it is natural.
If I'm going to label it, it's because I understand what is nature and how it aligns to my nature. So, like, is it natural for me to consume a pancake? Well, the pancake should probably be natural too. But I have to make that distinction with my knowledge, with my understanding of, again, that safety and the effectiveness. the nature dynamic that I used before, breaking down the ingredients to the best of my ability.
Okay. So what if we find like that it's like the absolute most healthy thing you could possibly feed your dog is pancakes.
All right. So then people are going to do it. Doesn't mean it's actually the best thing to do.
But what if it's literally the best thing to do? It like lets your dog live till it's 40 years old.
When someone says it literally is.
Okay, so what I'm saying,
we always have to have discretion.
So hypothetically, it lets your dog, it kills any possible disease your dog has, fixes its broken bones, and lets it live till 40 years old. Are you saying that
it doesn't mean that it's
good?
Right for every dog? It doesn't mean that.
No, let's say it is. Right, let's say it is. Hypothetically, it is right for every dog. We just discover some scientific breakthrough.
But is there anything that is one thing that is right for everybody on this earth?
I'm saying hypothetically.
But that goes against the nature.
So people making it to give it to dogs.
But if it goes against the fabric of reality, why go with hypothetical?
Well, what if it is like? What if we discover that?
Because reality in order to make your hypothetical
I'm saying I'm saying some dog found one of God's pancakes, and that dog lived to be 50 years old, and we all discovered, like, holy crap, it's been surviving on God's pancakes out in the savannah.
Guess
forever.
what? Even though that works for that dog, it's not going to work for everybody. People are going to consume that pancake differently. They're going to consume it in different quantities. They may not consume it in the right way. There's going to be 100 other dependencies still at play.
There's a field of God's pancakes. And we find a pack of dogs that have been living on it for hundreds of centuries, and that's just it. And it's like, and the rest of us all of a sudden one day discover, like, holy crap! Like,
and there's still different types of humans. There's still different types of dogs. People would still have to travel there.
It's only for dogs. It only helps the dogs.
No matter if people have been involved.
It always helps the dogs. Every dog.
No matter. Okay, so then, I mean, again, we can think it's natural, but we have to have discretion on the part of ourselves to realize what we know is that we know nothing, because there's always more that we haven't figured out. There's always more to this reality. Every time humans think they have it figured out and they want to create a box in something, they limit themselves, because nature is ever more expansive and there's truths way beyond their current comprehension, that in order to learn more, in order to evolve, in order to innovate to begin with, in order to even create a pancake, you need to be able to open your mind and escape the current box you're in order to create something new.
So let's take a look at this. All right. So what's in these ingredients is unnatural to you?
Okay, so you'd have to break down each nature using the nature dynamic, like
whole wheat flour. You just literally grind up wheat into powder.
Okay, so you just recognize that the wheat goes through a process. This is where we get the word processed. So right. Processing.
Okay, but it could happen just, I don't know, collecting it in a corner of a field while wind blows or whatever, and the powder always finds its way to a spot or whatever. Enough boulders and trees roll through it.
Humans still have to determine if that is something they should pick up, if that is something they should use, if that's something they should consume, what they should use it for, maybe not consumption. People can use flour for a bunch of different things. It's about understanding, is it most compatible with the human body? If you think that flour is natural to consume, go right ahead, be my guest. Okay, it's your individual choice. No one's stopping you, but it doesn't mean that you should.
Flour has been eaten obviously since before the 13th century, but that's just the first time it was used in English, obviously. So, like, you know what I mean? Which comes from flour, which like, and because you could grind up petals and flowers and stuff to do that for pigments a long time ago.
Grass, and grass is indigestible for humans. That's where we get kind of questionable. Is it in our nature to consume flour or grain?
It's okay. It's undigestible for dogs too, but that's why they consume it, to help them throw up.
Sure, they know. And because of their
knowledge, is very much in their nature,
use it,
even though it makes them vomit.
No, they're using it for their nature. It's supporting their nature because they're doing it knowing why they're using it. And knowledge is the key.
Why they just do it?
They know why. Just because they don't have brains like you and I, are they not? You just said they do it to throw up, so they know why they're doing it. They're doing it for a purpose, for an intention.
Sodium bicarbonate.
Unless you're saying it's just an instinct, and it's like wu-wei again, which is sort of like an effortless intuition.
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, it is like just.
And that's how I want humans to live. Is sort of an effortless intelligence.
I just feel like I'm surrounded by effortless humans. That's not a good thing.
Well, effortless doesn't mean that they have intelligence. They've probably never even heard of wu-wei.
I would argue that effort requires intelligence. So anyway, all right. So
I think it takes effort to be effortless in intelligence.
So can you do baking powder? Can you do it without baking powder? This might be the only part that I would argue you might have me on.
In today's world, it seems hard to live simply. but it's more simple than the simple who is conformed.
So yeah, right. So okay, so sodium bicarbonate. How do you
understand there's two different types of simplicity? There's a simplicity of conformity, and there's a simplicity of letting life be. Two different types. One goes with the stream of life. One goes with the stream of society.
That feels like we're getting into the weeds here on something totally different. Oh man, I hit stop share, and oh crap, my thing's breaking.
No, I still see it. Okay, but I was saying baking soda and baking powder and salt. These are things we can look at too. Like, are humans extracting these? Can they be beneficial for us? How much should we depend on it? Because if we depend on it and we say we must have it and it's something that our nature needs, then we're saying it's natural and that there's nothing beyond it that's more natural. So if I say a pancake is something everybody must consume, it's very natural.
Not specifically pancakes, but humans obviously.
Because you say it's very natural, then everybody should be consuming pancakes because it supports their nature and
no, I don't. But didn't you say that natural doesn't necessarily mean good?
No.
Okay.
Because
okay, so that's not what we're getting at.
No, I'm saying the word natural is good. That's what I'm saying. Equivalently.
Oh, okay. That's strange to me because obviously everybody needs to eat, and if it is your,
I thought we made this distinction a long time ago.
Say you're very poor, and that's what you got in the cupboard. Obviously, it's natural to eat it then, right? Like it is the smartest thing.
It's the smartest thing to eat in that time, but it doesn't mean it's the best thing for you to eat because you recognize there's probably higher quality food. There you go.
But can't that always be the case though?
Yes, and that makes us always want to improve.
So doesn't that make literally everything anyone ever eats unnatural?
No, it makes it an understanding of what is better and what is worse. I mean, every action we do, right? There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some problem. If I just step on grass, I'm killing a bunch of ants. But, I'm doing my best maybe not to hurt the environment that much compared to, okay, I'm going to drive around with a trailer and just destroy everything in nature's path. Like, there's clearly a distinction I'm making here between what is causing more harm and what's causing least harm. What's more beneficial for my body versus what is least beneficial. So like if I'm going to McDonald's versus if I'm cooking for myself. I mean, most people will understand, yeah, there's a difference between those two.
Maybe you're really bad cook. McDonald's is actually better for you. Who knows?
What, McDonald's? Yeah, that's possible. You see, people make assumptions. Oh, just because I'm cooking for myself means it's healthier. Not necessarily so. You still have to look at the nature of the foods you're consuming.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can call yourself vegan and eat only Oreos. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, so, see, my philosophy is designed to make people think. It's literally what it's designed to do. It's designed to say, don't stay in this box. They're cooking with olive oil that oxidizes on high heat.
Yeah, well, that's right. You're supposed to do low heat if you want good pancakes that don't burn. I would only the only oil you should ever use is olive oil, honestly.
Look, you just used the word should.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a human bias. Well, gosh, let's just take humans out of it. Well, now we just have oil and it's just sitting there. Well, what's the point of talking about it then, unless we're going to do something about it?
Well, okay, but again, all of these things do exist and can naturally exist.
Yes. Well, yes.
So the only one that I actually might give you is baking powder, sodium bicarbonate. I don't know where that comes from.
Exactly, but flour too. It's like taking everything else form. Milk, almond milk. Like, come on. There's no such thing as milk from almonds.
No, of course.
It's just water with blended almonds, which again has to be blended. How is that happening? So, like in my book, I talk about like juicing, right? Like your mouth is a natural juicer. Like in the sense of like you're breaking down food.
But there's also instant pancake mix that literally just takes water and is totally vegan.
Wait, what?
There's instant pancake mix. Sorry. Like and it's just literally like water is all you mix it with, and then you just throw it in a pan.
Yeah, again, I mean processed, but what I was talking about like with juicing is like, your mouth is a natural juicer. And then you look at a mechanical juicer, it's less natural.
Recording stopped.
Well, okay. But, our teeth are more natural because our teeth have always been here. Humans have always been juicing, basically. For all time. Well, the thing is, though, is that we've been juicing before there's been juicers with our teeth.
Right.
And to recognize that means that, okay, we can use juicers because we recognize they could be helpful for humankind, but we need to know that there's been juicers before that, which is our teeth. Because if, let's say, we underestimate the power of our teeth, maybe people are going to stop chewing. But
what if you don't have teeth and you just mortar and pestle or something? What's the difference? Like, why is that?
Well, it's kind of important to know that we have teeth for a reason.
Hold on,
it's kind of important to know that teeth are given to us by our nature. Because they're there for a reason. We need to use them. So when we use our teeth, we actually activate many enzymatic functions. And without using our teeth, we actually don't. This is why some people say to chew your smoothies, because many people are consuming smoothies, although the food is already broken down for them and may make it easier in their digestion. It could also make it harder in other ways because they're not chewing to activate their digestive enzymes in their mouth. So see, there's problems
Sometimes you don't want that.
compensated for.
Sometimes that's worse for you, right? So
There's
in the case of like the Ray
compensation.
Pete's carrot salad, right? You like this kind of coarse shredded carrots. The whole point is that you don't chew it very finely because you want it to scrape your intestines on the way out. It's
Sure.
more of a cleansing type of thing.
You're doing it for a purpose. You're doing it for some sort of natural purpose that you're.
What if you just didn't know better and you didn't really whatever? Like you don't have to do it for a purpose it doesn't change the nature of the carrot. It doesn't change the nature.
No, you don't have to do it for a purpose, but there are effects that are going to be done regardless.
And so you don't have to be aware of something being natural or unnatural. Being aware or like
that's regardless.
Something being natural or unnatural doesn't change it being natural or unnatural either.
Yeah, same thing with right and wrong. Because again, we're equating the two. It's like if you recognize, oh, I'm not going to hurt anybody today. It's like, yeah, because it's wrong. It's like, oh, I'm just not going to do it. It's like, yeah, well, okay, good. But like, it's also wrong if you didn't. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It's sort of like needless to say, I would say, because being aware is always usually a good thing in many people's eyes. Now, there is a time to not be aware, and that's where like some also the yin part of Taoist wisdom comes in. Being carefree, being able to be more effortless requires more of the yin invite, but that works with the yang as well. So that's needless to say.
Yeah, I guess so. So can sodium bicarbonate ever be found in nature? I guess is where I'm wondering. Okay, there is a natural mineral. Okay, there is a natural mineral form called noctilate.
It's been around very long as well.
Well, I'm assuming the natural mineral form is a crystal.
As far as I've seen through the research, there hasn't been many bad problems of baking soda, but of course there can be if you use it in bad quantities, or if it's contaminated. There's many different. Yeah,
it could totally just happen naturally. Okay, yeah, it's just like a crystal. Got it. Okay. Yeah, somebody first described it in 1928, but that doesn't obviously. It's some geological crap that makes it happen. Okay, so baking powder, totally possibly natural. Salt, totally natural. Right.
Okay, those are huge generalizations, but you have to understand where the salt comes from. They come from caves, right? Or they come from the ocean, or whatever.
Or your sweat, obviously natural.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, but there's also effects in the body when you add it to the food, the quantity that you add into the food, what your current health problems are. Let's say you have blood pressure issues and you're consuming too much salt. Obviously, we know that can be an issue. So there's
if you're dumb and you think salt is sodium, that's like a lot of people do that. But yes,
salt in its existence, totally wrong. Salt in its existence is natural, right? But in its usage,
sodium
there's
chloride.
Question.
Well, no, so sodium, not great for you. Sodium chloride, very good for you, actually. You need it because it has a very easily broken ionic bond, which then that's used for your brain for literal brain charge. It's useful. So,
sure.
And then, electrolytes. Electrolytes is basically just means we have some salt in your fucking water. That's basically.
Yeah. And I think also, again, looking at the natural source of electrolytes for humans, it may not be adding salt to water, but actually just eating fruit. But people don't see that because they need to inquire more into the nature of salt. Like, wait, maybe the salt I'm consuming is not as natural in this form. It's more natural if I consume it in the form of a fruit or something that is more beneficial to my body with less side effects. Again, safe and effective. Something that's been done for centuries on end. Like our tribes, they eat a lot of fruits and honey. There's not many tribes nowadays.
I believe pure sodium just explodes when it touches water. I'm pretty sure. Whatever, if it's in the left-hand column of the whole left-hand column. I don't know much
about chemistry
of the periodic table. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Fascinating stuff, actually. When you
I wanted to take chemistry and all that, but
chemistry. Yeah. There's different stuff. But anyway, anything along the left edge, like francium and cesium and sodium, they literally explode when they touch water, which is crazy because of the weak ionic bonds and stuff.
But recognize people have made issues with that too, like understanding scientism, which is the idea of having too much calculative understandings of nature. So like, oh, we need to understand this chemical and that chemical and all the subcomponents. So like I sound like I want a lot of knowledge and I want to reach that, but maybe we don't need to know all of that. Maybe we get to the point of, wait, we're running into circles, we're running into too much knowledge that isn't beneficial or practical for humankind. And this is also discussed within my works as well. But
so correct me if I'm wrong, more or less, it's the number of steps from how it's found in nature to like when people consume it. That's basically what you're saying makes it unnatural, more or less.
If you want to be very
correct?
generalistic, sure.
Yes. Yeah. Because we're talking about pancakes in general.
But that's,
and are they natural?
Yes, but that's for usage.
For people in general, not
existence.
for one particular person. Okay, cool. All right. So wheat flour, you grind it, 1 step. Baking powder can be found 0 steps. Hold on.
Oh
seasoning salt, extracted or found
the flour.
0 steps. Well, no, hold on. We're not there yet. So I'm just going through all these ingredients. So wheat flour, you grind it 1 step. Baking powder can be found naturally, 0 steps. Teaspoon salt, potentially 0 steps. If salt could just like ocean water evaporated, done. Salt, you got it. Almond milk, you squeeze almonds, 1 step. Olive oil, you squeeze olives, 1 step.
Squeeze olives.
Maple syrup, it literally just comes out of the tree like that. Or if it gets tapped by a woodpecker or whatever, 0 steps. Okay. Pure vanilla extract. I don't know where does vanilla extract come from? You assume you extract it from vanilla, but what the hell is vanilla? What is vanilla?
It's a bean, dude.
Okay, you squeeze it. All right, 1 step. Okay.
Dude, that's everything in nature is that we use it. Duh.
No. There are many things that are much, much, much more processed. You definitely have to admit that. They take many more steps before you just mix them together. But so far, every single one of these things at most takes 1 step.
They can, but also,
and you're saying just a single extra step.
We've talked about before
combining
how
them.
Steps does not necessarily dictate if it's natural or unnatural. It's more so
But there's one more step, and it's heated all together.
The form. Plato talks about this. Aristotle, some of the Greeks. It's understand like once you take things out of their natural form, and some of them would talk about like the soul and the spirit and sort of like impurities and all sorts of things like that. Which sort of parallels to a lot of what I talk about, though I put it into a more like, I guess, common sense way, because they put it through more spiritual lens, which is okay because it can kind of correlate. And what I'm saying is that you take things out of their natural form. That is what we're being aware of. Being aware of that alone is very powerful. So again, you want to choose the path of least resistance.
Would you at least so all of these things from the root form to your mouth is 2 steps. 1 in each of those separate parts. The second step
mixing
is
them, which turns into another form,
that's the second step is combining them and cooking them.
And then how they interact in the body.
If you want to consider that as 2 steps, that's fine.
And how they digest in the body. That turns into another form.
No. That's not a pancake anymore. That's just poop.
Bile.
It's
the bile.
It's not components. Once you chewed it up, I would argue that's not a pancake. Like the chewed up part is not a pancake anymore. I'll give you that. Because it's not. It's past that.
It has all the components of the pancake put into assimilation.
Does it look like a pancake? It's right there. No, it's not a pancake anymore. If I was to eat a pancake and then go onto a fucking plate,
but you use the pancake for a purpose, and that purpose is what you're aiming for, right?
Well, I'm saying, okay, so so obviously
but you just want to look at the pancake itself, which is in the middle, but you don't want to look at the beginning, which is the roots, what caused it.
I did. We just did that.
Which is what the pancake does.
We did all of the beginning.
You want to look to stay stuck in the middle.
No. We did just look at the roots of all of it, all of the different parts.
Well, the roots are that in nature, those ingredients just are, and humans have to touch them, mix them, cook them in order to make it into a pancake, which therefore implies processing.
But no, that's not processing just to mix stuff together. Nature mixes stuff together all the time.
Well, we are touching it, and now it makes it man-made. It makes it human.
Man-made does that. I don't think that makes sense. So you're saying if people carry a banana to you and you eat it, that's not natural?
It does affect the nature of the banana, yes.
You're saying that banana is not natural banana anymore?
No, it's not as natural as when it was on the tree. And we know this because if a plant sits around in the superstore, it's no longer under the tree. It doesn't have the UV anymore. It loses some of its nutrients over time. It starts to ripen too much. It can get
you're sitting at the bottom of a banana tree. Someone climbs up top of it and shakes the branch. They don't even touch the banana. It falls into your hand.
Well, they can touch it. I'm saying that when
They never touched
it's in
it.
the most
Only you
natural
touched it.
state. So if you try to keep that thing,
But it's
leave it
natural for
alone
it
as
to
much
fall,
as
too.
possible. You want to leave it alone as much as possible. That's what I'm saying. And
Okay,
then
we can at least
body.
agree that like a Beyond Meat burger is way more unnatural than a pancake, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. As long as we can kind of set some basics around this. Okay. It is just about 9.
That's a good example.
Right? Because it's like, just to be clear, it's like, even though that's technically all plants and it's vegan, but it's way more processed.
They're going to call it natural too, because it's all natural ingredients. According to the FDA, just anything that's not artificial. They don't actually define what is natural, though. They just say it's because
do they
it
even
doesn't have
define what is
anything
artificial?
I would say artificial is what is unnatural, but they don't define it as that.
Right, but do they even define what is artificial?
They define it as petroleum-based, like colors and flavors.
That's it.
I know they're very specific, and it has no ground in philosophy or understand the nature.
Well, they never cared about that. It's all about money.
The FDA just does regulations,
just like slavery.
Whatever's on paper. So they put things in a box, and they're not looking at things from a holistic point of view. A doctor would not be like, well, let's just say this person has a disease because they have this, this, and that. Well, they maybe have a little bit more than that. Maybe there's other problems going on. Maybe you got to look at the whole body, not just one part of it. A natural doctor would look at the nature of the whole rather than just one part of it. So
you get water from your well in your backyard. Natural or unnatural?
By the way, we don't have a well in this house. We got to get one really soon.
No. But I'm saying, let's just say ostensibly.
Oh, so the well obviously is man-made, and you would recognize that, right?
Okay, fine. You have a fresh spring.
A fresh spring, yeah. So you're trying as best as possible. See, I like that. You just deduced what is more natural. You just did it just now, and that's why you're like, okay, fine. I'll tell you something else. I love that. Now you just found it.
No, work with me here. So
I think that's the most natural, unless you can prove to me otherwise that there's a source that's more natural to drink from.
No, so Nestle then hands you that exact same water from that exact same spring.
They package it. They have processing plants. There's other things that could be added to it.
Okay, it's a guy that works at Nestle, and he cups it in his hand, and he hands it to you, and you can sip out of his hand.
All right, regardless of him working for Nestle or calling himself Nestle, yes, that product is natural.
Okay.
Regardless, and hopefully he did not add anything to it and all that other jazz, which I'd have to know with the knowledge that I have.
Fun fact, no bottled water is actually checked by the FDA unless it crosses state lines.
Okay.
Because that's what makes it federal, which is really bizarre, which means your tap water is almost 100% way better than bottled water, like 99% of the time, actually. Okay. It's kind of crazy. It could be like Yeah. You could be like a couple in a bathtub in Pittsburgh or whatever. But technically, if it's a bathtub, it's probably whatever. Anyway, like my buddy, one of my friends has a well in his backyard. That's where their water comes from. Salmonella. I guess that's natural. Terrible for you. Definitely not good.
It depends. E. coli,
salmonella does not depend. That's terrible for you, dude.
Well, there's people who are eating raw meat, right? I just ate raw meat like an hour ago, and I eat raw meat all the time. I eat raw eggs all the time, raw milk, and some of these contain natural bacterias that people would be afraid of.
Salmonella's not good.
Why is it not? So if it's not good,
because you have 48 hours of pooping and puking, and you can get very dehydrated and die very quickly.
And you're saying if I eat raw meat and stuff, I'm going to get salmonella?
No, I'm saying my friend literally had salmonella in his well, which is what his.
But you said it was natural.
Yeah.
Just because it was bad. But it's not. But is it not in my raw meat and raw milk and all that?
There are plenty of natural things that are terrible for you, and not good.
Okay, like but salmonella. That makes it not natural. It's like saying a necessary evil.
But nature put the salmonella in the water. There's some bug or some turtle or who knows.
And it's not man?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, turtles carry salmonella all the time. They're disgusting pests.
So then, are you sure that the bad things in nature that we recognize are naturally problems, which I have a whole section on natural problems in my book.
Also, many turtles are very cool. So my turtle-loving friends out there. It's like
natural problems, which don't have to be seen as problems. Again, Taoism and my section on natural problems. Do we not recognize those are actually going to make our immune system stronger, being exposed to them in the right proper amounts? Like we're exposed to harmful bacteria all the time, but when our immune system is able to battle it, we become stronger. So necessarily some bad things are actually good things.
You're saying bubonic plague or Ebola?
I'm not saying that I don't think
they're definitely natural.
Just okay. again, generalization. A huge plague affects so many people, and this thing that is affecting so many people, how come nobody knows what it is? How come they don't know how to deal with it? There's a lot of problems,
Because
right?
it's the
There's no
first time that it
knowledge.
happened, right?
Just because it's the
Eventually,
first time that it
there
happened.
always has to be a first time where
The
there's
first
obviously
times
no
all the time.
knowledge.
The only time now is now. It's present.
Right. Exactly. So, but there's plenty of devastating things that are totally natural and not good for your health.
Just because there's devastating things that you call natural to occur does not mean that they're natural to exist, in the sense that they
A meteor hits the Earth.
Okay.
Totally
But what are
cannot
humans
be
going to do about
possibly
that?
survive.
Okay, so then there's no point of really worrying about it, because like in the sense of like human made action, because all we can do is control ourselves. So if nature does something and we call it bad, we're just complaining basically to reality. Are we going to
Well, it's
like
bad
beg?
for us, but
Are
that
we
doesn't
going
make
to
it
like ask
unnatural.
God to make our condition better? Or like,
No,
I mean,
no, but again, just because something's bad to us, I guess this kind of comes back around. Like something being bad for us absolutely doesn't change the nature of it.
yeah.
Okay.
But is something,
and it doesn't make things good or bad. Basically, it means nature is not good or bad.
It just exists, but we make that judgment based upon nature. So like if we understand something might be a necessary evil, I question, well, what makes it necessary? Because you recognize it as evil. That's a contradiction of terms. Do you recognize there's no such thing as a necessary evil?
No, because if it's evil, it shouldn't be necessary.
Okay. People use that as a justification for government.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Of course. Exactly. I mean, it's like, oh no, well, what if like there's like roving packs of people that like kidnapped you and like pointed guns at you and like I don't know, lock you up for like basic things. It's like, oh wait, that's what the government does. Yeah, no, I get it. Steals from you. It's like, oh no, if these guys don't steal from us, some other big gang will steal from us. And honestly, they probably will. That's the reality. I mean, the reality is, if you went full blown anarchy tomorrow, people would be begging for cartels to show up.
But do we have to see evils that apparently come from nature as evil, or could we just see them as part of the process of life?
Right. But so what you're just saying is life involves death.
Yes, and we can't fear death.
I do think Americans have a really terrible relationship with death and sexuality, honestly. That's something I learned in my travels.
Yes, and it might relate to pancakes.
Well, it could be a really sexy pancake.
Well, I'm just saying, like, let's say someone becomes materially attached to pancakes or food. Many people are consumers in America. Is there not a case?
There are food fetishes.
And is there not to say that certain eggs are connected to reproductive health in the Easter tradition, or to say that flour might affect fertility and its anti-nutrients? There's a case to be made.
Okay, so I don't know if either of us convinced anybody in this conversation so far. I maintain that all the parts that make a pancake are about as close to natural as you can get. And I would say that simply mixing them doesn't change.
And consuming them, digesting.
No, again, cooking can totally happen naturally, more than mixing, probably. In the sense that the sun provides us heat all the time, every day, guaranteed. Well, at least knock on wood. So I would say that the cooking part is actually probably less of a thing. You know,
knock on wood.
Well, yeah, who knows? I mean, Bill Gates is trying to fucking. It was us who scorched the sky, as Morpheus said. And
so, what were you going to say? Are you concluding?
So So generally speaking, I think it is actually one of the much more natural foods.
Okay.
I believe, just because of how few steps there are. I still think it's silly that have some arbitrary number of steps that makes something unnatural.
Mm-hmm. I'm not claiming that anyways.
That's what it seems like, and maybe I'm wrong. But it seems like, but and I think you kind of agreed with me on that point, just with the
in general,
example.
yes, but I feel like it lacks context. So, all right, yeah, I want people to make.
Are there things with 0 steps that could be unnatural?
Everything's constantly changing, so it's like I don't count things in terms of steps. I think that's a left brain's sort of like dogmatic way of looking at the world.
Right, but this is a debate, which is that's how you're supposed to do this. So
Well,
a
like,
banana falls out of its peel into your mouth and you eat it.
no, it's
Is
about like
that
keeping
still a
it.
natural banana?
No, just recognizing that, hey, I have no problem. I will deal with the consequences of me taking this banana, letting it sit on my counter for a while and decondition from its natural condition before I consume it
You're
at
saying
the
death is
cost of some
unnatural.
nutrients.
You're saying death and decay is unnatural then.
No, I'm saying I'm accepting that condition of it's going to decay to some
Your
extent.
acceptance doesn't change
What are you going to
the
consume a
naturalness
fruit
of the banana.
that is spoiled? No.
You can. Sure, people
Yes, you
have.
can, but why?
That's how we learned it was bad.
There's certain food you can eat that it's spoiled and it's actually beneficial. But the point
Yeah,
is,
people in Iceland ferment puffins. It's disgusting.
yeah, ferments and things are great, but it's understanding that you need to understand like what is actually going to be good for me. And decay and death, to generalize on these concepts, which are huge, we just shouldn't fear it, is what I'm saying. We shouldn't fear these ideas, especially if they've been around forever. Death has been around forever. Decay has been around forever. But if we want to optimize our living here and we want to live, we want to feed ourselves foods that are perhaps living, perhaps that are real, perhaps that are whole, foods that are closer to nature. So these are the points that I contend with, and people can make up their own minds. If they agree with you and say, yeah, pancakes are natural and I shouldn't really worry about it, or be more among the lines of me of like, I'm going to worry more because we live in a man-made world of man trying to touch nature so much,
Well,
trying
worrying is really
to
bad
create
for
new
you. We
things.
know this.
And I'm not trying to worry. There's a Taoist
You just
perspective,
said you
wu-wei.
were. You
I'm
just
worrying.
said.
I'm worrying about what should be worried about and not worrying about what should not be worried about. I worry about the nature of our being. I don't worry about politics and all these other things that actually thwart the nature of our being, totally replace them. You can say I worry about them by attacking them and saying that they shouldn't be around and because they affect humans negatively. But I don't worry about it just because I talk about it. It may sound like I'm worrying about it. But me personally, if it doesn't affect me on a health level, if I feel like I'm not actually being affected, I mean, that's my choice for my body, right? Of how I'm being affected in that regards mentally. So again, you're in control of you, and I'm not telling you what to do. You have to make your own decisions for yourself, but you do that based on the knowledge that you have of the things that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. So you have bananas, you have fruits, you have all sorts of things. And when you're in the supermarket, you have to make that choice between the granola bar that claims it's natural or the granola bar that actually is more natural because it has way less ingredients than the other one, is way less processed than the other one, and they consider the environment more, they consider human health more, they have more knowledge behind their product. Or even better, the thing that has no label at all, that's just sitting there, that just came right from the farmer's market, that didn't go through 100 billion steps of exportation. But just because there were those steps, it doesn't change the nature of the product is what matters. You're using that product for the nature of what you actually want in your body. That is what you're trying to aim for. So you need to be able to align your goals with your actions, and that's how you achieve what you want.
I would be surprised if you could find any granola bar, regardless of what they claim to be, that is less processed than most pancakes. So let's leave it there.
Man, you really like pancakes.
I haven't had pancakes in a long time, but I did have some really good. I had a chicken fajita pancake once. It was fucking delicious. There's like cheese and chicken, and it was so friggin' good. Anyway, all right. So with that, you got some socials to share that people can go check out.
Sure. Corey, nature is the answer. This is a good like philosophical discussion just to get people thinking about the choices they make in everyday life. To see, is the claim of going back to nature really hold up or stand true? And of course, me arguing that it does, and you may be on the fence. I'm not sure. People can make up their own mind.
All right, so Corey Nature's the answer on YouTube. Also, taplink.cc/Corey Health for his other links. And with that, don't be afraid. Don't worry about God's pancake. All right.